How's up, my brothers and sisters? Um, I've been viewing a lot of posts on Facebook, and I've been seeing a lot of stuff being put out about, how to be a wokenist, learning about the heathen ways and different things about the holidays and stuff like that. But one of the things that I noticed is that there isn't a lot of discussion on the application of this information that's being put out and what it means to really be a wokenist and what it means to really practice that path and really walk down it. And it makes me wonder if we've gotten so caught up on the physical aspects of the hammer, the horns, the Yule bloat coming up, and the camaraderie ship that takes place with that, which all this stuff is good. But there comes a point where we have to stop and we have to not just look at the physical part, but look at the knowledge of self journey that we have to undertake in order to reach enlightenment, if that's what you would like to say, that woken consciousness, whatever terminology that people want to use for it. And one of the things that I see is somewhat is a lack of spirituality within wokenism. And, when a person becomes a wokenist, the very first thing that he acknowledges or should acknowledge to himself is that he became a wokenist for himself and nobody else. That he became a wokenist because he seen something within that path that called to his inner being, or that made him look at his life and life in general different. When we read the sagas, we can read about the exploits of Thor. We can read about the exploits of Wotan and many journeys that he took. We can read about Loki, Frigga, Freya, Balder sacrificing his life and willing to die for the greater cause. And I don't see a lot of posts dealing with the myths and breaking the myths down and how do these aspects and how do these gods' lives, how do they apply to our life? How can we go into the myths and look at them and say, wow, I can see myself in those. And I think it's time for us as wokenists to let's get back to the knowledge of self. Let's get back to what we originally got into it for. Because if we got into it because of the catchphrases, or we got into it because of the glamorous aspects of it, being able to wear a Thor's hammer and, being able to be around white people and raise up a horn and all this stuff. If we got into it for that reason, then we got into it for the wrong reason. Because wokenism is a path of knowledge of self first. All knowledge begins with self. And it's the self that reflects that knowledge outward. And what do I mean by that? I mean that if we're claiming to be true wokenists and we're claiming to follow the path of wokenism, then that path should manifest itself from us, through us, and then to our people, our families, our tribes, those close to us. Should be a reflection. And there comes a point in time where we have to move beyond what the norm is. And when I say move beyond, what I mean is that many of us use terminologies and phrases that we know causes a dislike and has been propagated so much. So as a student of enlightenment, if we know that something has brought darkness upon us as an individual, as a tribe, kindred, or even a nation or a race, then we should seek to eliminate that darkness and then call our people to enlightenment. But in order to call our people to enlightenment, we have to first call our souls to enlightenment. We have to first start with knowledge of self. We have to look within ourselves and ask the major question. And that question is this really what I want to do? Is Wotanism really the path for me? Because one of the things about Wotanism is that Wotanism isn't for everybody. I know a lot of people want to join. A lot of people like what they see. They like the different kindreds that's involved with Wotanism. But Wotanism as a whole isn't for everybody, because not everybody can walk that path. Because Wotanism does what most heathen religions or heathen communities or kindreds don't. And that is, we move beyond the physical and we delve into the spiritual. We make sure that we are an example of what it is that we profess. And then once we make sure that we're an example of what it is that we profess, then that example must be manifested so that people can see it and people can learn from it. This is what makes a true tribe great, is that every individual understands that the knowledge begins with self, and they work on themselves. And then by them working on themselves, they take the knowledge that they have digested and that they have learned and exemplified. And other members within that tribe see that. And then when they see it, they want to become that. They want to have what this individual has. And then pretty soon, what you have is a small flame that was lit in a field or a fire, a piece of wood. And it just grows and grows and grows. And it consumes everything and everybody that gets in its path. This is what Wotanism is. And this is why Wotanism is not for everybody. Am I saying that a person shouldn't seek? Not at all. Because when the gods and the goddesses are ready to open a person's eyes and they're ready to place the knowledge of who they are, meaning the gods, then no man has the right to say if that person can follow the path of Wotanism. But let us start looking more towards the spiritual. And let's really take a look at using these so-called catchphrases that just place a darkness, regardless if it's correct or not. You know, in the Havamal, the very first stanza, in Wotan says, before you enter a door, look both ways, for no man knoweth where an enemy might be lying or sitting. We can take that stanza and we can look at it from a standpoint of a physical aspect. But we can also take that stanza and look at it from a spiritual aspect. Meaning, when you enter Wotanism, take a look at your past. Take a look at what you was before you entered Wotanism. And know where your enemy lies means that knowledge of self that has corrupted us. And that knowledge of self that has made us people who were unworthy of the God's cause. So let's enter the door. Enter the door to spirituality. And then look in the room of your mind and find the enemy of you and eliminate that enemy. Only way that a person can advance within Wotanism is if he first eliminates the enemies that lie within himself. Because many of us are professing Wotanism, and we have demons within us, and we have not yet conquered those demons. And this is what we need to first begin to conquer. We need to conquer the self, conquer the enemy. And once we've done that, then we learn the fruits of what Wotanism really is. Then we learn the true knowledge of the hammers, the horns, the bloats. So, my brothers and sisters, what I call us to do is wage war against yourself. Don't wage war against the society until you've learned to conquer yourself. And only by doing this will we become the tools for the gods and the goddesses to use so that other people can see our kindreds, our tribes, or even one person and say, I want that. I want what that person has. Because when a person is practicing Wotanism on its highest level, trust me, it's like a beacon in the dark. It can be seen. And can't nobody take that light away from us. So let us tread the path of cleansing of self-knowledge. With that, may the gods and goddesses continue to purify our hearts and our minds. May they continue to open up the myths and the sagas to us so that we can learn from them and really become an asset and a benefit to our families, our tribes, and maybe our race. Doubtful, but maybe. With that, I raise a horn to all those brothers and sisters who tread the path of a warrior, both physical and spiritual. And for all those brothers and sisters who embrace Wotanism with the concept of knowledge of self first, knowledge of family, knowledge of tribe, I raise a horn to you, and I ask that we continue to tread that path, because we are the only thing that can save our people, not our race as a whole, but we are the only thing that can save our people. Become the warriors that we were meant to be. Begin to practice Wotanism on a whole nother level. With that, hail to the greatest tribe I know, Gallows Tree. May Yule Bloat produce fruit that spreads like wildfire when we do these bloats all over the country. Hail some.